Hello, this is Greg Allison with Green Gregs coming to you on the wee hours of 26 January 2021. Time on deck 0207. I do a lot of videos on this channel about freedom. This video is about freedom. You know, in these uncertain, tumultuous times, sometimes it's best just to go back to basics. And with all the craziness going on in the world today, I think right now it's a good time to focus on freedom. It seems to be so at risk, so underrated, so forgotten. Yet our ancestors strove so hard. They gave up so much. They fought so hard to maintain our freedom. People over the world have clawed and fought for this, and people have struggled to get to this country so that they might have freedom. And yet today, we take it for granted. And yet we are on the verge of losing so much of it. So given that, this is a great time to refocus on freedom. Now, I did some video for a friend, Ransom Godwin, back on the 4th of July, earlier last year. He did some nice remix on that video. It's a good time for me to bring that back to you, the messages that I sent him that he posted on his channel. So check it out. I think you'll enjoy it.
We're about to look at the fireworks.
Okay, hi, this is Greg Allison. I'm with the Green Gregs channel. Good to be here on 420 Freedomist TV again. You've got a good title in Freedomist. And what a day to talk about Freedomist other than the 4th of July. Because on the 4th of July, 244 years ago, the founding fathers of this nation wrote a document called the Declaration of Independence. It is the Declaration of Independence that is our initial founding document, because that's the document that we trace back to establish ourselves as a nation. The very first document, we declared ourselves independent. It wasn't until years later that we came up with the Constitution. We operated under something called Articles of Confederation in the meantime, until the 1780s, late 1780s. So we operated for over 20 years under the Declaration of Independence and Articles of Confederation, which were just rules for getting along between the various individual states, which were considered like independent countries at the day. Now, it's interesting that here's what our founding fathers deemed to say when they wrote the Declaration of Independence. And they said, wherein in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. I was going to say God, instead of nature's God. It's interesting. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind require that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. And then they lead in with the most famous paragraph of all. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men, it says all, are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator. That's not who the Creator is. It says by their Creator, however you want to believe, with certain unalienable rights, that among them, they don't say this, these are the only ones, among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which originally said property. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That means if it's not consent, it's not just. Some people don't understand that. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. It's interesting that they declared all people to be equal, that a just government gets its that the citizens get their rights from a just government. The just government gets its power from the consent of the people. The consent. If you're not taking your power from the consent, you're not just. And who would argue with that? Except there is no time in our history to say you relate. That's what they wrote in 1776, when men were brilliant and had time to think about the affairs of men in governance and human relations. Today, we're all imbued in technology, and we tend to forget these human aspects, which really hasn't changed. People are people as we've always been. People today have forgotten a lot of what this meant, what was important. And we find today that we are under stress. Never has freedom and liberty been more at risk in this nation than they are this very day. All people have a right to assemble. You have a freedom of speech. These are freedoms that you're granted, and you have freedom to redress your grievances with the government. All these are freedoms guaranteed in the First Amendment. Speech, assembly, religion, or no religion. Make sure that you can maintain these rights. You have something called the Second Amendment. Now, a lot of people misunderstand a lot of this stuff. Now, we're told today that, we can't afford freedom. We can't afford liberty from those above. We're told it because how do you have safety if you don't have liberty? The founding fathers, such as Ben Franklin, wrote that those who would trade liberty for safety will deserve neither and will have neither. That eventually you will lose it all. But they understood the affairs of human nature. They understood how societies had evolved and what had failed. They were students of history. They had seen what happened in many other forms of government, from Greece to Rome, throughout the ages of the Dark Ages and other places. They studied these things. There were thinkers of the day, such as John Locke, who wrote extensively of these things. He was in England, by the way. Today, some people pin their hopes in a new king called King John. We don't need a king. You're the sovereign. That is freedom. You're the sovereign. You don't need a king. The whole thing was not to have kings. We shouldn't be, in our literature and our news media, worshiping and licking at the boots and the kings and queens of Europe, especially the Queen of England today. She's nothing to us other than some entertainment figure, and that should be the sum total of it, because that's an anachronistic throwback. Today, we're told that freedom of speech is a terrible thing, because freedom of speech allows the violation of social justice. I've been told that. And it's like, really? The freedom of speech doesn't say that only this guy or that guy gets the freedom of speech. It's available for everyone. And here's the problem that these people forget. The real lessons of history are based on basics of human dynamics. And human dynamics tell me that you may have a good king that might take over. You might have a totally benevolent dictator. Yeah, I've been theoretical here. You might just maybe have a total benevolent dictator. Let's see how long that lasts. I mean, it might even, this guy's really good at heart. It might last a generation. What's his kids going to do? And his grandkids. It's going to devolve, because they're going to be spoiled brats. It's going to devolve in time. So there's three principles that I've been telling everybody about that work in concert with each other. I don't care how you set your society up. If you don't have the proper checks and balances and freedoms to ensure these checks and balances, then you're going to get a tyranny, and a real bad tyranny. And these human natures are, stated by Lord Acton, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. There is the golden rule of gold, which says he who has the gold makes the rule. And there is birds of a feather flock together, the sycophants who will suck up to those that have the gold and the power, and make sure that they keep that power in hopes that they'll get the breadcrumbs. Or maybe they just have a personality type that will worship those type of people. There's folks like that. Sycophants, we call them. So societies are made up of these people. These people evolve into a society. They say it floats, and it sure does. In every group, there's psychopaths, there's sociopaths, and usually they learn they have to be charming in order to survive. They have to hide who they really are inside in order to get ahead. But that's what they do, and they eventually take over organizations. Any and every organization is susceptible to being taken over by these people. They always suck up the very top management, tell them everything they want to hear, and they walk heavily upon those underneath them, unless they require the votes of those underneath them to put them in power. Then they also tell them what they want to hear. They pull games on people, such as they tell people, you're the best, most wonderful people in the world. All your problems are because of these people over there. Well, that's happening today in the movements of the streets, because they're blaming us, for all the problems that these people feel. And, our society has got problems. No society is perfect. None, not one. No human is perfect. So because of that, I did a little video called Rose-Colored Glasses, where I was telling people to put on the rose-colored glasses of other people to see how they see the world. what their worldview is, to try to understand them. And everybody has a worldview, and those worldviews are things that you acquire as you grow up through your teachings, your raising, what you learn in school, or whatever you're indoctrinated to believe. And once you believe something, you have a bias filter that takes in any additional information according to the view that you already have set. So to really truly understand, one, who you are, you need to take off your own rose-colored glasses and have a good look at them. But also take a look at the rose-colored glasses worn by other individuals and try to understand them. That said, that doesn't mean that you should be giving up your liberties because that's what the other guy thinks. It just helps you to understand what they think. So maybe you can prevail upon them the ill-gotten advice that they're following if they're trying to take away your liberties, because they may think they're going to get social justice or some other thing that they've been told all these things they're going to acquire, but in the end they will lose them all, because the jackboot of tyranny doesn't care for anyone. Psychopaths and sociopaths, when they take over an organization, only care about their own power and nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. They will use other people, empower other people, only as long as it's useful for the pursuit of that for which they seek. And so, but today it's even scarier. The scary thing about that kind of power today is the technology that's arrayed at the fingertips of those who would wield it. The technology of the social media, the technology of social control, of what people can do in terms of tracking you and controlling you at every corner, the information that they can control you with. Even when 1984 was written, they never dreamed of the power that would be available to the modern dictator if they so had it. Hitler would salivate, absolutely salivate, when he saw the kind of stuff that's in the world today. He would just be, just drooling all over himself. Oh my God, I can have this, I can have that. Goebbels, just imagine if Goebbels were over in social media. I mean, that's the kind of guy he was, right? That's exactly where he would be today, is in the middle of social media. That was his game, right? So imagine these kind of people today. Maybe we do have those kind of people in some of these places. They're going to be charming people to the people of Germany. They thought Hitler was their savior, Mein Führer. They thought he was great and wonderful. He took them out of abject poverty and built them up into a strong nation, made them proud of themselves, told them all their problems were other people's fault. And that worked until their country lay in a burnt cinder, until all the buildings were bombed out and no brick was on another. The places were shattered, and Dresden was fire burned. Berlin, all the cities were bombed to bits and pieces. Go look at the pictures. And the kids are walking in the streets starving. And people like my dad was reaching in their C rations and giving these kids food and candy bars and stuff like that, because they felt sorry for the kids roaming the streets that were hungry. What was left of the German people was utter destruction. They thought that they were on a path to an ascent to greatness, and it was absolutely the opposite. And that's where some of these false hopes can lead people today. They are given fly bait that tastes sweet, but it's poisonous once it goes down. And that's what comes with a lot of these programs that you're told, we'll give you a living wage, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. Well, you know what? We've already spent this country into oblivion here. We're like $23 trillion in debt. It's mountain fast as we're trying to keep people mollified as the wheels are starting to come off the train. Our tax base has shrunk due to the closures of businesses. And at the same time, our payouts have grown. We've got very top heavy. The foundation on which we do all this is going to nothing, and this is ballooning out. A system like that typically topples over because it's top heavy. It's like, we're on this train, it's called our economy or this nation state, and the wheels are about to come off. There's only so long that you can play this game without some kind of dire consequences in terms of inflation, in terms of maybe even the depression, which is deflationary. We have strong inflationary and deflationary trends going on simultaneously in this country. We have a lot of people unemployed. These people are about to potentially be running out of EBT checks or unemployment, or maybe they'll get the checks and it might be multiplied by 1,000-fold, but you need 1,000,000-fold in order to go buy a loaf of bread. So it might be useless. It might be meaningless. You might need it for toilet paper, which you probably won't be able to get any other way. So freedom. Freedom comes from what you can do yourself. Freedom is you are sovereign. Freedom is you have the right to protect yourself, say who you are, do what you intend to do. Freedom is your ability to go out and determine your own course, your own future. And systems like this, they tell you who you are and what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and what you're going to put up with. And you have no choice. Oh, you need there's a snot bug going around here. Take this big shot for the snot bug. Never mind it. You're going to be oozing snot out your ears now. You've never done that before, right? But, you know, what might it do to you? You don't have any choice. None. By the way, if you're not subscribed to my channel, bang the subscribe, bang the up notification bell, and click all. You can get all my videos where I cover a wide range of topics, because the proposition of my channel is to help you survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive. And part of the thriving is freedom. Stay out of the hive. That's definitely freedom. Hey, it is January, the end of January. February's coming. It's time to plant in your greenhouse. It's time to get seeds, get ready for your garden. So get them now. Go to my link at True Leaf Market. Check the link below. They tell us that property is bad. Well, people take care of things that are theirs. You find in societies where they don't have that. You're all living in bland concrete block houses eventually. They're all the same. There's no room for creativity. The life is bland and boring. And people get ill. They're like rats in a cage. That don't work. I mean, how many people were clawing to go into communist Russia and communist China back in the day, or East Germany? How many people were fighting to get into East Germany? People were fighting to get out. And once the yoke of communism was thrown off the Eastern Bloc countries, those countries were thrilled to death. They didn't want no part of it. You look at, people say, oh, but China's doing so great. Well, if they're doing so great, how come Hong Kong is fighting so hard not to be pulled into it? Why don't Taiwan say, oh, take me? Why are we doing all this defense to keep you out of our yards? Let's just stop playing. How come all the countries in Southeast China are bristling at the 9-dash line? How come India don't say, oh, come on, China, come on in. We'd love to have you here. You got such a great system. It's not working. It's not happening. How many people said that at Soviet Union? How well is Venezuela doing it? If you think it's so great and wonderful, just go to Venezuela right now. If you really think these ideas are so wonderful, take yourself down to Venezuela and have a good time there. Maybe you can take your ideas and fix that place. Maybe now look, there's passion. These people out there have passion, and they feel injustice in their life. So we need to have a conversation. We need to come to terms. What is the sources of injustice? What are the problems? The things that are told to them is BS. They're being played by the powers that be, because somebody. Why is it that the uber billionaires have for the past umpty up years been promoting socialism and communism? The top capitalists on the planet are the ones that are trying to undermine capitalism. Why? And so they can get more market share. They know in the end they will rig a system that they will still be at the top of the game, because they got the money to play that. It's going to knock out the legs out from underneath all their competition, and they'll still have power, because they will be the puppet masters outside the set with the puppet strings. Everybody else will be inside the set. They know how to rig this game. They've already got it figured out, or they wouldn't be pushing it. Believe you me, if they were so altruistic, they give money to various causes. Usually the causes that instigate the kind of stuff we're talking about. So if they were really so altruistic, they should just give up everything and go live in a little shack somewhere or something, if they really believe the stuff they say. They don't. They're pulling the game on us. And a lot of people just can't see through it. Why are they the ones that push it the most? Now look, who made the most money in the recent shutdowns? The top billionaires of the world made $500 billion, while small businesses got the heck kicked out of them and put out of business, and people lost jobs. And then on top of that, they had gangs running around and burning the small businesses out. That made even more money for the top trillionaires. They're laughing. They're laughing, the billionaires. They're just laughing their heads off at this whole game. So this is what's happening. If we burn this country to a cinder, you might think you're going to come back and have a lot of great, wonderful things, but you're not. A civil war is the most ugly thing that can happen inside of a country. You have no idea how ugly that is. You might think you're going to come out ahead, but you start this, but you're not. There's no winners. There's no winners. Everyone's a loser. Now, you might be equal in losing, That might make you feel great. You might have social justice that everybody will be starving. That's real social justice. But nobody needs to be starving. In this country, who does starve? Who's really lacking that much in this country? Sure, there's some things that haven't been right, but there's a lot of things that haven't been right in many different directions and dimensions. And these are things we can work on in time. You know, we should do this in open debate. Use the freedoms of assembly. Use the freedom of speech. Use the freedoms of regression to appeal to the government. We can do that. We can appeal to each other. We can talk. But instead, what we've done in this country is we divided ourselves more and more and more. Even the social media accentuates that, because the ads you get, the articles you see, are the ones that are more in line with the kind of stuff that you share and trade in already. And so your prejudices get driven deeper and deeper, and the people get driven further and further and further apart. No one's reaching across the aisle. That's why I said, hey, we need to reach across the aisle. We need to talk. And I absolutely believe in these freedoms of petition. I believe in the freedom of protest. Absolutely. You got the freedom of protest. But you don't have people the freedom to destroy somebody's life by burning their business. That is their life. People work their rear ends off to build a business. I mean, typically a business owner is working 80 darn hours a week and taking a huge risk and starting a business, because in 7 years, only 1 out of 7 succeed. My mother started a business and when I was a kid and lost her home over it. So it's you know, for a small business, you got to scrap. But with freedom, you have the freedom to come up with an idea, to determine a way to go forward. What's happened is in countries where you have command economies, you got central committees planning how the economies are going to be dictated, and they don't have the knowledge of resources, capabilities to understand what's needed at the lowest level. That's one of the reasons that when you spend money, that's the greatest vote you have. The things you vote for with this determines how that economy ought to grow in a free and open market space. We don't have a free and open market space. People say capitalism is bad. We're not even capitalistic. We are a corporatism state, because the big corporations have got in bed with the government and created rules and regulations that squeeze the small guy out of business. Everything going on in this country is squeezing and attacking the small independent business person, the small independent individual. They want everybody to be sucked up to the system of the big international organizations. And it's time we stand up and take it back. It's time we look at this document, the Declaration of Independence, and think about what it says here. And it says that, you know, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve political bonds which have connected them with another. And that might just mean your ruling class, because the grievances they had about taxation without representation, how responsible are your elected officials to you? If they're not, you're there now. If we're living in an age where government has broke its social bonds with its citizens, what's the government supposed to do? It's supposed to protect you from crime. A government should protect you from invasion, protect its borders. You know, it's the chief way of protecting you from invasion. Are we protecting our borders? Is our government protecting from crime? They're talking about taking your right to defend yourself from you, at the same time defunding police. You got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. Heck no. You know what? I'm a sovereign. I will not stand for that. And who will? That is nuts. So, no, wait a minute. It's still worse. Let's see. We're going to take away your right to defend yourself. We're going to defund the police, and we're going to let gangs run around the country and burn houses down. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's see how far that goes. That is where we're at today. It's insanity. And it's probably going to get worse. We're in the lull of the storm. You know, they've had their first little, and now they kind of burned through their cookies, and I got to go home and earn a few bucks and before they jump out and do it again, probably, and rest and relax. But I imagine that the big push will be before the next elections, because they would like to change the course of that, maybe stop them. Or if they occur and don't go in the direction they want, then, yeah, they'll be out there just trying to bring down the whole house. So it's absolutely insane that people are basically acting like little 3-year-olds on a temper tantrum. They need to grow up and take responsibility. And there's one thing that does go with freedom: responsibility. You need the freedom. Everybody should have the rights, but you also should take responsibility. And that responsibility is to be a good citizen, to take care of your fellow man, and to do what you should do to make the world a better place. And I absolutely agree that that's what to do. And I do my best to make the world a better place. I've been actively involved my entire life, not only making a living and supporting my family, but hey, I left home when I was 18. I put myself through college. I didn't get some golden shoe or golden spoon or any assistance that wasn't available to anyone. In fact, there were assistances that I couldn't apply for because of who I am. But that's fine. I made it. I was determined. I did it. I made it. And I've got a job. I've got so far. And I have my side business. Yeah, I might get fired, for all this talk, but hey, I got a side business or two or three, and I've got flexibility. We all deserve liberty. I deplore racism. I deplore a lot of these things that people are complaining about. I have a mixed race family. And some people say, well, I got black friends. I got these friends. No, I have black family. I have Mexican family. And that's good. So I'm really sensitive to racist overtures, to racist organizations. But then I think a lot of it, too, is overinterpreted. But, I despise the Ku Klux Klan. But I also despise somebody burning down people's homes and in the name of racial justice. There's no racial justice in that. They don't even know whose homes are burning, or what these people are about. They're just going crazy. It's mob rule, and that can't be tolerated. What can you do? Well, some of us have decided to do a 60-day media blackout or 30-day media blackout. And so the idea was here on the 4th of July, we'd start promoting it. And we'll promote it all through the entire month of July. And then all the month of August, everybody just blacks out the mainstream media. Because if there's a huge boycott of the mainstream media, they're going to feel it. And that's one way to vote. You vote by what you view, what you do, how you participate, and how you spend your money. Spend your money on local sources. Spend your money on your local farmer. Spend your money at the farmer's market. Spend your money for the local artisan, tradesmen. Stay out of the big box stores, and quit empowering those uber billionaires who made $500 billion at the expense of shutting down all the small guys. Turn it around on them. Turn the tables on them and become your own source of independence. But the very single best thing you can do with that is grow your own food as much as you can. Grow your own food. And what you don't grow, buy local. Buy local. And you might be able to grow enough to sell food. So what can you do? Think about what you can do yourself. What can you make? What can you grow? And how can you create your own economy? Where are the needs? There's all kinds of needs in society, especially as things are going downhill so fast. I am sure you can fill a lot of those needs if you think about it. So you might be out of a job, but if you think you can create a job. You know what amazes me? When you have a country with freedom, like the United States, you can get somebody come here from overseas, from a culture that's looked down upon, who don't speak a word of our language with nothing in their pockets. You can give them 10, 15 years and they might just be a millionaire, or they'll at least be doing quite well. I've seen it happen over and over and over again. That's what freedom permits. And that's what you can do. And if you're not doing that, it's because you have a poverty of consciousness. Or maybe you have other priorities. And that's okay. Maybe you'd rather sit back and watch sports all day long. You're not going to become a rich person though by sitting in front of the TV all day and consuming. You become rich by doing, by performing, by thinking. That's how you get ahead, and you can do that too. But if you just want to sit and watch TV all day, well, then fine. But then don't blame us when you get hungry, when it all hits the fan and you don't have anything. You don't have. You're not. Nobody's entitled to anything other than the breath that's in their lungs until they exhale it. You're not even entitled to the next breath, though. Really and truly, you got to earn it. Earn every breath. Earn every step. Do it. In ancient societies, if you didn't work, you didn't eat. Because everybody has to pull together to get society to survive, especially you got to scratch in those hard times. And hard times are coming. So it might be a good thing just to get out, forget the power tools, get out and use hoes and axes and things like that. Learn how to use the old tools, the manual tools. It's good for you. Builds muscle, builds character. My dad said hard work never killed anyone. My dad lived just a few days shy of 99 years old, and he drove and lived by himself to the end. He cooked, he cleaned in his own house. He survived until just a few days before his 99th birthday. So I think you can take what he said to the bank. By the way, I have started an organization called the Freedom Restoration Foundation. So if you want to support freedom, email us at info@freedomrestorationfoundation.org and put freedom in the subject line if you're interested in working with us to preserve and restore the freedoms that we are so accustomed to. Just bear in mind that we do happily exercise rights such as that set forth in the First Amendment, the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition government for redress of the grievances. So we definitely going to be doing some petitioning the government for things that we think ought to maintain our freedoms. That said, join us.
Let's zoom right in there and see what's going on at the International Space Hall of Fame. And as you can see, there is NASA stuff all up in there.
Let me in. Just the thing about opportunity and freedom is it's available to anyone. Anyone. I don't care what you look like. You can be purple. You can be purple with scales and hair that shoots up 10 foot high. I don't care. Freedom is that you've got the ability to go out and do according to the things that you seek. Anyone can accomplish these things if you work for it. And if you think ahead and plan and work, yeah, you're taking risk. It's part of it. But anyone and everyone can aspire to greatness. And that is what freedom allows you. And you can only do that in a free society. That's why so many people have had such desires to come here. And if you want to know how to grow food, you can go to my channel, Green Grades. Green Grades is my channel where I show you how to grow food, garden, grow microgreens. You can be in a city. You can be in a high-rise apartment. I show you how to grow food in your house. I teach you how to raise worms. You can do that in your house too. And furthermore, if we keep the society together, if we can survive through the nut phase we're going through now and pull out on the other side, guess what? We can have an unbelievably prosperous future. I do have another channel that talks about that. It's called GALACTIC. About what, and it's going to be more and more covering the things we could do in space. So there you go. And thank you for watching.